I heard Dr. King speak at the March on Washington in 1963. I was 16 years old. I went to the march with my girlfriend and her mother. We got there early. We started at the Capitol, and I got my sign from a man that I thought was the tallest man in the world, Wilt Chamberlain. And my sign said jobs and equality for all. And then we got in line, and as luck would have it, I was I was the seventh row. So 7 rows behind Dr. King and his wife and all of the clergy and the AFCIO. And it was a beautiful day. And when Dr. King spoke, he mesmerized the crowd. He energized us. And we left there. For myself, I knew that I had to do anything and everything I could for the community, because he had a dream, and I wanted that dream to be fulfilled. Dr. King's message that day were several things. One, he announced to the United States government that he had come to cash a promissory note that had been marked insufficient funds. He wanted them to understand as well that freedom was not free. However, we were going to do whatever we had to do to gain, free people from the narrow jail cells and gain voting rights and etc. And then he had a message of hope for all of the people who were there, and they were a myriad of folk, black, brown, white, young, old. The message was, we can do this. We will get there. Just believe and know that I've already gone there. I've seen the promised land, and that we will get there one day. I know for a fact that Dr. King's death, John Kennedy's death, Malcolm X's death, Robert Kennedy's death, all played a part in my wanting to speak out and speak up. And I knew that while their voices were silent, I was greatly influenced by what they were saying. And so I knew that wherever I would go, I would be one to speak out. It was interesting that, as I mentioned, the sign that I carried, jobs and equality for all, it was predestined, I believe, because little did I know that before Dr. King spoke, he had met with clergy, and he said to each clergyman that they should take a plank from his speech, something from his speech, and go back to their cities and hamlets and wherever they were from and develop that plank. One of those persons was a reverend by the name of Leon Howard Sullivan, who years later became the pivotal point for Mandela being released from South African prisons. He sat on the board of General Motors. He founded the OIC. And so that jobs and equality sign I carried, then that came full circle. And in 1979, I left and went to become the executive director of an OIC. So for 11 years, I was out there, still carrying that plank. To get to his dream, I believe that we must learn to trust more, to love more, to give people the benefit of the doubt, not to be so angry with one another, and not fall victim to separatist ideas. That wasn't Dr. King at all. The day that the march occurred, my young eyes, what did I see? On that front row, I saw black, white, brown, young, old clergy. I saw all. And what that said to me was that this movement was not just about black people. Never was. It's about people who believed in civil rights for everyone And from that standpoint, I saw a lot of people that didn't have my skin coloring who were out there and were passionate about what they stood for and believed. His message was timeless, and it's one that we should be working toward every day. Any part of that speech, he was not saying, hate this one or do this or whatever. He was saying, let's come together. We shall overcome. We can overcome. There's a, I have a dream, and that dream is for my little children can lock arms with others and be treated not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. That was his dream. One thing I would like the students to know about Dr. King was that he was a man of action, a man of his word. Remember, this man went to jail for what he believed in. He was threatened on many occasions. Even the FBI followed him. But he had been given a message from God. That was what he believed. And that message said, despite what's around us, we've got to push forward. So the young people today, I think they need to go back. I would hope that they learn, study that period of history. And I'm talking all kids, all students, they're not kids, but all young adults. Study that period of history because we can learn so much from what happened and then we improve upon it. But to know that part of history as well. My career in education, to me, this is how I was influenced by what Dr. King said and did. I knew that I had to speak up and speak out for those who were voiceless or felt that they couldn't put it all together, and somebody had to speak up. So that's one. Two, I believe his dream. I know it could happen. So, every day, that was what my influence would be. And then a funny story, because I trained to be a teacher, I had to go out in the school system to be for student teaching. And the classes, I got one class and then ultimately got 6. And this was at a very high-risk school, and we had kids who had been, they're probably, if they're not in jail, most of them, they may be dead today. So I had to come up with something that was going to excite them and be a good lesson plan and that type of thing. My major was history. So what did I do? I taught civics, if you will, to the history class, and I talked about Dr. King, and I talked about what was happening then, and I talked in decadal periods. And as a result, the kids came every day. I didn't have any discipline problems, and they were engaged. And we ended the day every day with the James Brown song, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." I think the kids were engaged for 2 reasons. One, the content, what we were doing, it was relevant to them. And 2, because as they studied the history and saw the things that people had to go through to get to where we were, that piqued an interest. Example, the morning of the march, as we were walking to get in line, coming across the 14th Street Bridge were men in overalls. We'll find out later they had walked all the way from Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi to Washington, D.C., many of them just getting out of narrow jail cells. Now that made an impression on me. And when I look back, just as before Dr. King started his speech, and I look back for as far as I could see, on all sides, people. And we were loving each other on that day and treating each other with respect. In my opinion, the battle towards social justice has not been won. It is in progress. It's going to take a lot. And one of the things, unfortunately, is the kind of things that happen like Charlottesville. It should never have happened. And the idea to see people walking with swastikas and hate messages and hate filled, that's not Dr. King's dream. That's not about social justice. And from that standpoint, no, we haven't reached that. I mean, even if we were heading in that direction, we're going 10 steps back again. I'm very sad. I'm very sad because too many people have died, too many people have gone to jail, too many people have risked their lives to improve our environment and to level the playing fields. So to see things like I saw on television in Charlottesville and what have you, and to hear people many times with a strident chord where, it's me, we or they, that's not me. And that's not what Dr. King taught us, and that's not what I'm going to be a part of. In my opinion, in the next century, social justice will look like there being no colorblind. I mean, people being colorblind. People being allowed to be who they are and be proud of who they are. When I say that they're colorblind, it doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge who they are, but it doesn't matter. That's the thing. That my hope for the children within the Inland Empire, that no one goes to sleep hungry, that people have homes, that people don't experience what I would call institutionalized racism, that people are able to speak up and speak out, and that they have faith, and that they know that everybody's not against them. My hope for the children in the Inland Empire would be that they get a good education, that they have they're allowed to get a college degree if they choose, or if they don't choose, that they are able to get a job that will carry them and family. And my hope would be that there be a decrease in gang warfare and a decrease in the number of people who are in prison and an increase in the number of kids that are graduating high school, going to college if they choose, or going in the service, or doing something productive for themselves.